In a previous audio, I touched briefly on someone trying to buy someone else's peace of mind, and I feel I need to go into detail about that because I was speaking on another matter, and I said to myself, you know what, I need to talk about that because there's a lot of that going on, and trying to buy someone pieces of mind is basically throwing money down the toilet. Let's say you came across a person who has emotional, psychological, mental problems, but they're functional, okay? But they have untreated problems. You as a person, you've become in love with them, you care about them, you've been involved in a relationship, although rocky, because people like this don't have any peace in their lives, so things have been rocky, but you decide you're going to tough it out. So you've already identified that there are problems that exist, but you haven't figured in your mind if you love them hard enough, the problems will go away. And sometimes that just doesn't happen, people. Now, am I saying that it's possible? Sure. I believe in miracles. I believe that things may happen. But why take the chance? Why gamble with it? They need help. And you as a person don't want to accept the fact because you're too close to the situation to acknowledge the fact that this person is not behaving in a way that you normally see on a regular basis. They're not. You know that they're out of pocket a lot. You know that they're overly emotional a lot. I can't talk. Overly emotional a lot. You see that they're quick-tempered. You see that, but you don't want to acknowledge it because you love them. But before you take the step any further, I strongly suggest that they go ahead and get some therapy because it's going to save you in the long run. The same way that they go off on people, they probably have already gone off on you. They probably have exhibited behaviors on you. And if you haven't married yet, put off the date of the marriage until this person embarks on an aggressive program to address those issues. A behavioral health program, a regimen. Take care of that first. Because what's going to happen is if this person is emotionally unbalanced and they get that ring on their finger and they take your last name and you're with them every single day, more than likely it's going to get worse because in these people's minds, some of them think being married gives them a higher sense of power. So all those little quirky feelings and behaviors that you dealt with before you got married, they're going to be to the nth degree once you do get married because they figure that you're locked in and that you're not going anywhere because you've been devoted thus far and you've given it to them. And a lot of these people are not satisfied. They'll tell you they want that one thing and probably will battle you back and forth for it because in their minds that's the most important thing. You turn around and give it to them thinking that everything is going to be over with. And then a little bit later they want something else. And they're all over the place about that until you give it to them. And then you're quiet for a while. Then it pops up again. They're all over the place about something else. It's an ongoing thing. And unfortunately, I've seen it in a lot of relationships where you have one person who clearly needs help, clearly needs therapy, and then you got the other person trying to love them out of it, giving up all their resources, making all these sacrifices. I'm going to give you a hypothetical scenario. Let's say a man meets a woman, and a woman, let's say she had an abusive marriage or whatever the case may be, and she has a son who just can't seem to get it together. He just moves from pillar to post. He doesn't stay in school, doesn't keep a job. And throughout his adult life, he has been known to periodically park on the sofa with her. And instead of her trying to address his issues and both of them going to therapy, because he's probably behaving this way due to what he witnessed between his mother and his father. Instead of them going to therapy and trying to fix their behavior, she lets him come flop on the sofa every now and then. Now you as a man decide you're going to marry this woman. Now do you think just because you got married that's going to stop the fact that son is going to want to flop on your sofa when you get married? In a rare occasion, she might say, no, you can't do that anymore. But if he's had a habit of doing it for years to her, he's going to assume you want to get with the program and you're going to do it too. It'll never end. And here you are, you're giving your resources up to somebody who you hardly ever know, giving them money, job opportunities, giving up your space in your home just because you're in love with this person. See, that's a situation that was avoidable and preventable. No, I'm not saying she should turn her back on her child, but I don't see why any grown person would allow their child in that mental state to keep running in and out their house all the time. That's the only way you can show you love them? No. If you truly love them, you go ahead and you and them will go to whatever spiritual counselor or whoever you need to go to get hash that shit out. Hash it out. You shouldn't be 30, 40 years old laying on your mama's sofa from time to time when shit don't go your way in the world. There's nothing normal about that. And the average man is not going to put up with that. Another case in point, and this is in regards to marriage. Let's say that you have a woman that marries a man who's very close to his mother. I know this is a sensitive subject. Mother brought him into the world. She's the reason why he's there. But some mothers aren't very nice. They feel like they use that position of the fact that she chose to bring him into this world as a weapon so she can keep him close to her. Malicious intent. So every time you turn around, when you finally get married, you guys might want to get a bigger house. You might want to sell the house you have. You're looking to retire at a certain time. But you notice that you can't do it because every time mama needs something, he's jumping up and running and spending his time and resources. And I'm not talking about things that are crucial because when parents get older, they have certain needs that need to be met. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just frivolous bullshit so mama can have his attention. And more than likely in that situation, you probably had to struggle to get the marriage started. You probably thought at some point that you probably wouldn't even get married because he was that attached. First of all, when you saw that in the first place, you should have known in your mind that it wasn't going to change. See, that's the problem. A lot of y'all will see these red flags in the beginning, but figure that once you get married, it's just going to poof, disappear. And like I said, in some rare cases, they do disappear, but sometimes they get worse because now they got you involved in what they were doing before, and you didn't sign up for that shit. I can go on with other scenarios. Babysitting people's kids all the time where you're not used to doing all that. Giving up money and resources for something that you didn't budget for. Spending time in a certain organization or a certain group of people. These are things that you saw before you got married, but you figured that once you get married, it was going to disappear. Now they're turning around. They're mad at you because you won't participate in it. Well, they're wrong anyway because you didn't participate in it before y'all got married. But see, you figured that once you sign those papers and you exchange rings, all of a sudden that person's going to be involved in it. If they weren't involved in it and weren't trying to get involved in it before you got married, and you turn around and assume that they're going to do it just because you're married, and if they do, they'll do it for just a little while till they lose patience and they're ready to end it. And see, this is where a lot of arguments come in the marriage sometimes. Because you expect somebody to do something that they weren't doing before you got married. All of a sudden you expect them to do it because you are married. And then you have these people who sit there and they'll just allow these people who are emotionally and mentally unbalanced, they'll sit there and just rule everything and figure, well, that's my wife, that's my husband. And they'll just sit back and they'll just give them everything they want, hoping that it'll buy them some peace. It'll buy you some peace for a little while. But if they're emotionally unbalanced and suffering from psychological problems, newsflash, that's not the end of the story. That's just the end of the chapter. Wait for the next one to start. And the book does not have an end. Now I see this with a lot of people that are married in that situation. where you're dealing with someone, then the reason why that they're like that is because, first of all, they never address the reason why they are reason why they are, and number two, they don't know who they are as a person. If you don't know who you are as a person and what your needs and your boundaries are, you're never going to be satisfied with what anybody does for you. It's always going to be a problem with you. Always. And you're going to keep, and all those demands and stuff, that's going to put pressure on the other partner. Then all of a sudden the other partner is not going to be as engaged with you anymore. That's going to lead to other situations. And this is just going to snowball and snowball to catastrophe. That's all it's going to do. So those of you who think that you could buy someone else's peace of mind by complying with their every wish, it never works out. If that person didn't have peace of mind before you got married and hadn't made any effort to get peace of mind, your love is not going to fix it. They say love conquers all. I beg to differ. Because there are some things that are outside of your realm. This is shit that existed before you came along. You need to understand that. And you need to sit down with this person and have a heart-to-heart and let them know where you're coming from. Say, look, I'm becoming mentally exhausted behind this whole situation. But I'll have to admit my role in it. I should have addressed it before we got married. But I was thinking once we got married that you would understand home was a priority, and apparently you don't. I'm not saying that you use those words, but I'm just trying to give you the meaning behind that. And more than likely, you're going to get some more drama behind it. But you got to stand up for yourself sometime, or else you're going to be constantly taking on their burdens. Constantly. And you're going to be expected to do it because you're the husband or you're the wife. So you can't buy anybody's peace of mind. Peace of mind is something that has to be achieved with that person, within themselves, with their creator. Nobody can just give you the peace of mind on a silver platter. It doesn't work that way, people. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Like I said, you'll see some good behaviors for a little while. But like I said, it's the end of the chapter. It's not the end of the book, which means another chapter is coming. And you're going to get worn down in the process. Deplete your resources. Deplete your health. Deplete your peace of mind. So just have them go and address whatever they need to go. If you want to keep the marriage going and make sure everything is okay, you got to let them know, hey, look, some of your behaviors are a little extreme. And right now, what I'm going through right now, even though I knew you were going through it before, I figured it was changed when we got married, but it didn't change, and it's just too much for me. It's too much. And don't expect to get out of that conversation without a fight or some drama, because that's the mindset that they're in. They don't have peace of mind, so there's going to be conflict. That's what they live for. And the minute that you call most of these people on the carpet, they go right into victim mode. These are mental health issues that existed before you came along, my friend. Now, do you want to be in that office with them on every single session? Because if you keep this up, you're going to need to go see somebody, because you're going to be depressed and anxious all the time, experiencing all these negative feelings you never felt before you met that person. Do you want that? So I'm going to leave that question on the table there. Think about that. Or do you want to go ahead and get a solution so the both of you can move on happily in your relationship? Just saying.